I had a comment a while ago asking me to show how you change the knives on these planers. And I wasn't originally going to do this because there really isn't any. On this one here, basically what you do is you just loosen the bolts that are in there that I've taken out here. And then you can just slide this knife out because it's slotted on the back here and it fits in there, and that's the only way it'll fit. However, in this particular planer, which as you can see has suffered some hard times, I need to go a little bit further. I took the plate that covers it, that clamps it down, completely off because it's in rough shape as well. So I got to try to do this without knocking everything off my thing. And there's a lot of dust inside there, so I'm just going to quickly wipe that out. I should have my dust mask on for this. Hang on. Here it goes. There you go. Now I can breathe easy. So anyway, like I say, if you just loosen those bolts that go in here, the knife will slide right out. All you gotta do is position this so that you can push it, and I recommend using a piece of wood or something. Don't use your fingernail because you could slip and cut yourself badly, because these things are pretty sharp. Even when they're dull and they don't cut very well anymore, they're still pretty sharp. And like I said, mine's in bad shape here. You know, I bought this. This is probably the fourth one of these I've had. And I've had this one for, I don't know, maybe 15 years. I've got another one out in my shed that doesn't have, I don't know what happened to it exactly, but it's basically in pieces. But this is the one I like, this model planer, and they're quite common. This is the Makita N19B. I can't see all of the number here, but I can see most of it. This stuff, by the way, I talked about this before. This is actually body filler that spilled in the back of my truck and leaked all over the machine like this. And I scraped off what I could at the time, but at the time I was at work, so I couldn't mess around too much. And then over time, that just hardened up. So it's just like plastic now, so it doesn't wipe off. I suppose if I wanted to, I could get some lacquer thinner or whatever and try to clean this up more than this, but it's just not worth it. Anyway, I'm rambling a little bit and more shit's falling on the floor. If you want to go further, and I really don't see the need, not for this tool, usually they come from the factory already set up, but if you want to go further, there is a way to adjust these. And that's to loosen the screws. There are two smaller screws here, and they go through this plate right here. And this plate has a lip on it that fits in a slot that's in the cutter head. And also, you can see it's kind of slot shaped right here. They have more room to move so that you can push this thing up and down. And this is the thing, this other black plate here, the second one, that the back of the knife that has the groove in it indexes into. So you could make further adjustments to get it exact. I am not going to bother with this because for the most part, these are fairly inaccurate machines, as in, you're not going to use these to thickness something down to, say, a given thickness that has to be precise. Now these, I've had these knives probably for 15 years as well, $9.95. So they've been around a long time. Now these have two edges on them. So did the one that I took out. The one that I took out is in really bad shape on the edge that I'm changing. And in the inside one, I can see that it's used, so I'm not going to bother using that again. These are solid carbide, by the way, for this planer. Anyway, so I'm going to slide that back in and finish what I was talking about, which was about the use for this tool, I use this tool for mainly for flattening stuff, but not to a specific, I can't say to a specific flatness. Like, I'm not looking for the kind of accuracy you would get from a surface planer. However, accuracy with all tools, doesn't matter what it is not in the adjustments that happen here. I mean, if this planer is cutting a little heavy to one side of the shoe or the other, you can always make up for that when you're using it if you have enough experience using it. And that's the key with all these things, is getting a feel for them and knowing how to cope with little things like, you know, if you're driving a car and it pulls to the left a little bit, or, you know, if it bounces a little bit to the left when it hits a bump, then you know how to cope with that when you're operating it, because you have experience with that. The same thing applies for these kind of tools here. So I don't go crazy with how this is adjusted, because I know that any minor inaccuracy that it has, I'll be able to cope with, so that won't be a problem. And then not to mention that I don't use it for, you know, super accurate type things. Like my bench over there, my workbench, I use this planer back when I made that to flatten the top. And of course, you've seen me use it in other projects. I used it for that slab that I cut when I did the point of view build, the monster one, and lots of different ones. Anyway, so I'm going to tighten these up. I don't have a torque wrench for this. I'm just using the tool that they supplied with it. I do it until it feels right. I know that's tight enough there. You know, I'm not putting a bar on it or anything. And then this thing has two cutters, so there's another one over here, and this one's in just as bad shape. And so just to illustrate, I'm going to take this one and do what I said, and that's just loosen these things up here like that. And then it might be hard to push out because there's quite a bit of resin on there. No, it just slides right out. So you can see right there, that's that one. And then I'll get the new one. I'm going to have to take it out again anyway, because I need to clean the dust and that out of there. If you have too much dust on one side or the other, it kind of throws the balance off a little bit, and it can also make it clamp. I'm not going to bother sliding that one in because you already saw that happening. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and take this off, and I'm going to wrap this video up here because that's all there is to it with this planer. I don't know about other planers. I've used the DeWalt one, but I didn't like it, and I had, at one point, on one job, a benchmark one, which is Home Hardware here in Canada. And that benchmark one looked like it was made by Skill, probably, because they don't make their own tools. And that was okay. The one thing I didn't like about it had a little thing on the end here that would flip down, so that when you set it down, you're not going to set it down on a flat surface and have the knives dig in. But in using this for many years, I've developed my own way of keeping that from happening. And that's, you know, when it's still running, put it down, but put it down on the cord. Position the cord so that it is not under the cutter head type thing. So you take it, and it's, well, that knocked most of the dust out. It's like a second nature thing. You take it and you put it down. And on one job, I had the super yell at me. He saw me do that on the floor, right? I was planing the edge of the door, and I put the planer down on the floor, and he came in screaming, "You put the planer on the floor, you're going to cut holes in the floor." And I said, "No, it's on the cord. It's not going to cut into the floor. Relax, man. Be cool." Anyway. All right, I'm going to go. That's it for this one. But I thought I should show you this since it fell out, and it might be out of the adjustment. This is what I was talking about, the two pieces. And I'll brush the dust off. And you can see here, this is the part that hooks into that slot. This is the part that you can adjust back and forth to adjust the depth of cut on the knives. But like I said, from the factory, they're pretty good. So I've never felt the need to change them. Okay, goodbye. I'm going now. Bye. You know what? I was out the door, actually. I had the battery from the camera, all that in my pocket and ready to go. But I said to myself, if I don't show this planer cutting just to prove that it works after the repair, people are going to get angry. And I'll be saying, oh, we're ripped off. You didn't show us how it works. Well, okay, I got the knives in. What I've done is I've slacked off the thing here to make it so it doesn't cut, basically. And then I'll start wheeling it in until it does. And you can see how nice and clean, or actually you can't see, but I can see, and you'll have to take my word for it. And that's basically how I start off with this planer, especially one that I've never, like if someone else's, I'll always wheel that up to make sure that this is, the way this works here is this foam here acts as a spring. And if that's slack in there, that means it's not cutting. So wheel it back down again, and I know it's cutting a little bit. And then like a quarter turn at a time. And I'm getting dust chips all over the place just to do this when I really shouldn't, because I need this inside my house, not out here. Anyway, that's it. That is it this time.